Hello my friends, welcome back to the final tutorial of 2025. I think you're going to like this one. This may be a little bit complicated for some of you, but I think with everything you've learned in the past 12 months, let's say, I think it'll be good to put all that practice into a painting and see how you get on. I'm going to challenge you just a little bit. This may look complicated, but I'm going to break this up into a couple of different parts of tutorials, focusing on little sections at a time. It's a beautiful photograph. It's very eye-catching, a bit of detail, but an awful lot with colour theory, mixing colours and comparing colours together on the canvas to get a certain feeling. I think you'll enjoy this one and you will learn a lot. I would say to you, do try it, just give it a go, but please just take your time, be patient with yourself. Do not push yourself to try and get it finished quickly. I naturally paint very quickly. That's just the way I've developed over the years. A lot of people have told me it's too quick, I need to slow down, but I will try and slow down a bit when I'm doing this for you and try to explain certain aspects and different techniques as I go along. So I will do my best to kind of slow it right down for you and help you create the most beautiful painting, okay? It's the final of 2025. I would like to sincerely thank you all for supporting me. I really would. It's been a fantastic journey of self-discovery for me as well. I've learned a huge amount along the way, even about my own painting, because of advice and comments and all of that. So I've learned quite a bit as well. And that's the whole point of, I think, a YouTube channel. Is to help each other. You know, it's a two-way street. It's not just me, I'm not right all the time. Sometimes I'm wrong almost in every single tutorial with something. It could be something small, but that's the whole point of my channel in particular. I want you to kind of throw things back at me as well and help me. You know, if you have any suggestions about a certain colour or the way something is painted, please just leave a comment and I take that on board. I learn from that and I might try that in the next tutorial. So don't be shy. I have tinted this canvas and I've tinted it with a very, very watery mix of burnt sienna. I got a couple of questions about tinting canvases and how it all works. It can be kind of confusing sometimes. You need to allow for the fact that you have a warm undertone in your painting. So when you're mixing a colour, you have to allow for that kind of, that paint, that colour to come through your colours. So there's a little bit of thinking involved and you have to be careful with your mixes. But someone asked me to show them a tutorial on tinting a canvas. So I'm going to show you there now very quickly how I tint this canvas. It's dry now. I just gave it one coat of very, very watery burnt sienna, left it dry for a day or two, and it's ready to go. So I'll show you very quickly how we tint the canvas, and then we'll crack on with this lovely painting. I hope you enjoy it. There will be 2 or 3 parts to this. I'm going to take my time again, and that's it. Let's have a bit of fun with this one. This may be intricate. It may feel intricate. It may be something slightly outside your comfort zone, but as again I would say to you, do try it. You will learn so much from painting something like this. It's basically a very kind of a dark painting. So it's a room with a window, okay, looking out. In the room there's like a sofa or couch with cushions, and there's a lovely kind of a warm fire lighting. So it's a very cozy kind of Christmassy atmosphere. I thought it would be nice to finish up on this. So let me know what you think, and again, do try it. Just be patient with yourself and take your time. And again, thank you so much for your support. I sincerely appreciate it. I'll be right back and we get this set up. So let's start by giving this canvas a lovely tint. I'm going to use a very watery burnt sienna. All right, just a tiny bit of burnt sienna with plenty of turpentine. Give it a good mix. It's very, very watery. Now let's try it and see. We can always add to this if we need. Let's just try this first. And I just want a very light tint. Now it's up to yourselves. You might like to use a yellow ochre as well. That would be fine also. But I think the burnt sienna will just give a lovely warmth through all these colours. And it will make a difference. Now this is all also in a way almost acting like a primer as well. It's kind of priming the canvas for me. It's giving the canvas that one kind of layer of paint first. So it takes the dryness out of the canvas, it stops the canvas getting very, very sort of dry, and it stops the paint soaking into the canvas a little bit too quickly. So let's just give all of this very, very quick coat of burnt sienna. Remember, we're going to be putting a lot of thick paint over this, so you don't have to be perfect with your brush strokes, absolutely not. Just give it a very, very loose coat all the way to the bottom, just cover the whole canvas with a nice thin layer of burnt sienna. This will really help later on bringing those colours through. So when we put on our colours for this painting, they will have a lovely kind of a warm undertone. That's the whole point of tinting a canvas. Also, some artists find it easier to grade their colours on a tinted canvas and to get the right shade. It just helps sometimes, because working on a white canvas can be a little tricky at times. Some people prefer to have some kind of a base coat on the canvas, just a kind of a light tint. Now, that's absolutely fine. That's all I want. I just want a kind of nice, a warm kind of a brown shade on the canvas. And sienna is perfect for this because sienna is a reddy brown. So it's just perfect. Let's go. I'm going to leave this dry for, I don't know, it's already soaking into the canvas. So I'm thinking maybe just give it an hour or so. Get it nice and dry. And we'll start sketching our painting. We'll get some marks on the canvas sketched, and then we'll start painting. So I hope you like this tutorial. All right, my friends, here we go. This is my canvas. These are my colours. I'll tell you what colours I have. I'm using Naples yellow, titanium white, burnt umber, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, lamp black, magenta, and cadmium red. I think that's all we need. Just those few colours. That will do us absolutely fine. Right, so let's do a quick sketch. There's a reference photograph. You should see it around there somewhere. Isn't that wonderful? I think a lovely, lovely photograph. Now I'm just going to fix the colour on my camera. Just for a moment. Do bear with me. Okay, that should do fine. So, a burnt sienna wash. Let's make a quick sketch of all of these little lines that we have here. Just going to take a bit of burnt umber. Lots of thinners, a bit of burnt umber. Now all we want is a couple of reference lines, that's all. A couple of quick lines. So let's just take some burnt umber there. Let's start with, I'm going to say let's start with the fireplace over here. You see the top of the fireplace? Let's go up, I suppose, nice and high. It looks like it's coming down at a very slight angle. Very, very slightly. We don't have to be perfect with any of these now, okay? This is just kind of a very quick sort of a reference, and it kind of comes like this, doesn't it? And that will give you perspective. So when you're doing perspective in a painting, it can be quite tricky. So the lines have to kind of disappear from the point at which they end. So everything comes this way towards the bottom, and as you get above the center of the canvas, the lines will start going up gradually, getting sharper and sharper. That's generally what kind of happens. All right, let's just put a very quick indication of the opening of the fireplace in here, and look, we can change this as we feel necessary. Okay, it doesn't have to be identical. So let's say now we have a little windowsill there, don't we? Comes across about there, we'll say, and it goes back at an angle like that, and back here. I'm going to say around here, and there's another piece at the back there. This again, look, when we're painting this, the paint itself is going to be covering these lines. So we're going to be in essence, we're going to be kind of almost painting it again, if you understand what I mean. I'm not going to go all the way up with the window. I'm going to come to about here with the window, look. And this is kind of a nice painting in the sense that because we have a window, that's like a landscape in itself. So we're almost painting a landscape within a painting. if that makes sense. And I like that. I think that's a nice way to paint. It just gives it a nice touch. We don't need to worry about what's going on inside the window. Okay, so let's just put another line here somewhere like that. Just a kind of a, you know, a couple of quick marks. And I'm excited now to kind of paint this. I really am. I want to get a nice painting. A bit of a curtain coming down here. And then we come down onto the chair, this lovely sofa. Let's try and get this right if we can. I'm going to go around here, bring it down, and then let's go straight down with it here. We come at a slight angle this way with that, with the cushion. And then we have a lovely cushion that comes up like that, don't we? And we've another one that kind of comes up like that again. Again, very, very loose. I'm going to say something like this, and then something like this. Now, if this is too complicated for you, honestly, you can just take little aspects of it. You could, you know, you don't have to paint the entire painting. You could just paint and crop and zoom in on one piece of the painting. If you would like to try the window or just the fireplace, you just crop the photograph that's up there, crop that down, and just paint one section. All right, that's all. Don't feel like you have to paint everything. And a picture frame up there. I'm going to go at an angle with this, give us a bit of perspective again. Now, I think that's fine. I'm eager to kind of crack on and paint. So let's start. I'm going to take a large brush. All right, I'm going to just dampen a large brush with a little bit of turpentine, and I think we should just start with the center of the painting, that lovely landscape in there. What do you think? Let me get another brush. That might be a nice little, you know, a little project for us to kind of start off the tutorial. Let's take some white. I'm going to paint a nice little winter scene in there, yes? Come on, let's go. A little bit of white, a little bit of phthalo blue, and a bit of black. And, okay, we have a landscape in here. This is the sky. And remember what I was saying earlier about the wash that we have, the Sienna wash. We need to bear in mind that we have a warm colour under these colours, so it's going to show through and it's going to make the colour slightly warmer. And that's nice. That really is a nice thing. The only thing is, you would want to have kind of nice thick paint covering this, because if your paint is too thin, it will really kind of begin to show through on the painting. Now I'm going to just take a lot of white with some thinners, and I'm going to go up here and paint that. You know, this canvas is actually quite dry. I could have probably put a little bit of linseed oil onto this, just a little bit, just to kind of help it along. I'll make it thinner slightly first, just to help the paint go a little bit faster. You see what I mean? And we can kind of add thicker paint over this. So my goal right now is just covering the sienna, covering the base of that canvas, that base colour. So we'll just keep going into some paint, into a bit of white. And you can already, you can even begin to see that wash showing through, can't you? And it just gives that beautiful warm undertone. It really does. It's just so nice. Let's soften these together. And what you need to do here now is completely separate this from the rest of the photograph, the painting. So let's just assume we're painting one small little landscape in here. Let's just concentrate on that one small landscape, nothing else. Pop a little bit of cloud going across the sky off in the distance. Okay, just like that. And as we come up, we can pop a little bit more white around here and there, again, just to cover the sienna. Now, that's not bad already. That's quite okay. I'm going to come down and I am going to take a little bit of tissue, and I am going to just run a tiny bit of linseed oil across the landscape, okay? Just the tiniest little bit. That will really help move the paint around, all right? So, let's get some white on our brush, and That's much better already. It's quite a bit better. Let's paint this lovely landscape. It's kind of interesting and sort of strange painting a landscape inside a painting. It's the same if you're painting something with a picture on a wall where there's a painting on a wall. So you're almost painting a landscape within a landscape. I think that's fantastic. Okay, let's just soften that away off in the distance. And again, I'm going to just keep it nice and simple. Maybe a little burnt umber, little sienna perhaps. And just wiggle a tiny amount of that off in the distance here. Let's just imagine there's some kind of things going on in the distance. Now let's go into the black and burnt umber and a little bit of white. So I'm going for a kind of a warm, muddy, browny grey. Okay? Let's just flick up. So just outside the window, we have these kind of grasses popping up all over the place. And let them disappear off. Let's just be nice and random with all of this. Then we have some trees. Let's take a bit of blue into that. And we go for a little kind of a greeny blue. Let's pop 3 trees in here. And the nice thing about flat brushes, as you can see, they give you a lovely kind of an edge for, especially for trees like this, don't they? And then you can kind of come down this side like that. And they just give you these lovely little trees. Let's put another smaller one on this side. And again, turn it the other way. Up to a point. Just bring it out nice and wide. And we go one more. A nice bit of a thicker one. Like that. Now, that's absolutely fine. Let's put a little bit of shadow under those. You see that lovely shadow we have coming off? Let's just take a bit of dark paint and just drag it across the canvas and just leave it disappear into the snow. Just like that. Now we'll just soften them all down into that shadow to make one nice little row of trees off in the distance. Isn't that lovely? I am going to go with blue and a bit of black and just sort of at the base make that a little bit darker. And then let's just darken the trees slightly as well. It's all, for me, it's all about contrast. It's about having a nice rich dark towards the end. Now I'm going to just clean that brush very, very quickly. And I want to add a little hint of snow. Let's put a little hint of snow on these trees. Let's get a nice point on our brush, a little bit of white. And, okay, the light is on this side, so let's just go a little bit of snow on those trees, just like that. Leave it disappear as it turns around to the front. Now that just makes a nice simple little suggestion of trees off in the distance. And let's just kind of merge them together ever so slightly towards the bottom. Now I've taken some brown. I want to pop some brown into these. A little bit of burnt umber. And then burnt umber with a little black. I'll come up a little bit at the side here. And that's our painting in the frame done in the window. It is finished. And we only need to keep this nice and simple. We don't have to go crazy with this. We're done with that. What can we do next? I think next we should maybe start, look, we could start working out from this, couldn't we? So let's put our window frame in. At least if we have a window frame in, we can then have something to go from. Okay, a little bit of black, a little bit of burnt umber, plenty of thinners in this, I think. I'm going to say plenty of thinners. Let's go with a bit of black as well. Plenty of black in there. Let's start putting in the frame. Let's just get a nice straight line. And it's not going to be perfect. I will be honest, I'm terrible at drawing. I'm actually terrible at drawing with, you know, sketching and that kind of stuff. I'm not the best at it, I'd be very, very honest with you. I'm better with a brush. I prefer to do the drawing with my brush. Okay, let's just give this a bit of a surround, just to kind of set that back and leave it go off into the distance. And let's take a bit of black and a bit of phthalo blue, and we'll go up and we'll go along the top with this. So at least now we have this square done. And that's a nice little landscape photo off out in the distance. I'm going to take a bit of blue and a little bit of white. And I'm just going to go across here with that. Now, if you're more comfortable using little pointy brushes, you can of course use pointy brushes, okay? You don't have to use a big flat brush like this. I just like to get a lot of stuff done with a flat brush early on. A big flat brush. I think the bigger brushes, it stops you from worrying too much about detail. It allows you to be very sort of free with your brush strokes, and I like that. I'm going to take a little bit of that light colour and go across the bottom as well. And we will be going over a lot of this with highlights and stuff as well later, so don't worry. Don't worry about all of that. Next, I am going to start filling in around all of this. And what I would say to you is, look, just focus on sections. So, look, for instance, I could paint down here, right? All this in a nice deep purple. Now we can do that. Let's do it. Let's take some blue and some magenta. Let's just say some blue magenta. A little tiny bit of white. And look, we could just get this in. Let's actually add a bit of black to that. Let's take some black as well. Give us a nice deep bluey kind of a purple, okay? Let's come down here and let's just fill all of this in with that. And again, you see the sienna will come through underneath, and that will naturally warm the colour. So a lot of this part of this tutorial, you know, the first 1 or 2 parts may be just literally filling in colours like this to get some sense of what we're doing, where we are with the painting. So a lot of this is just a filling in stage, I'll be honest. Now, you can by all means, if you like, you can skip along to part 2 or 3, it's up to yourself, but I would urge you to watch them right through, because you may miss something very important. So it's up to you. But anyway, I do hope that you enjoy watching my tutorials. It's a pleasure, it really is. It's a pleasure to paint for you. I know it can be very, very frustrating sometimes for a lot of people when I'm taking my time. I find a lot of people on YouTube, when they're watching tutorials, particularly on YouTube, they like to kind of flick along right to the last 5 or 10 minutes maybe. But you see, that's okay, but you're losing an awful lot of hints and tips along the way. That's the only thing, you see. So you're going to lose a lot by flicking through. I would just say, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, cup of tea, just watch how this is all coming along. And by the end, you will have the confidence to try this yourself. I know you will. Just going to fill the side in. Now I'm going to continue on and work on this side for a while. You can see we have, in the photograph, there's a lot of kind of blues and mauves, light colours going on over there. Let's try it, come on. I've picked up too much of that now. Bit of white, bit of blue and a bit of magenta. And let's start putting in these light shades, okay? we've a light colour going on there. It sort of filters out. So what I mean by that is it kind of starts and then it disappears out into the darkness. So I'm going to start with this light, lovely kind of light bluey shade, and I'm going to start working in darker colours into this. And also it's worth noting, as I'm going along with this and adding new colours, I'm getting much thicker with my paint, you see. So now my thicker paint is really going to stick much better to the thin colour underneath. And don't worry about shapes, you know, there's lots of little things there up on top of the mantelpiece and all of that. There's lots of stuff there. Don't worry about all of that stuff yet. I'll show you how I put in those in just a moment. Now, already we're getting that nice deep colour coming in, aren't we? Isn't that wonderful? It's really nice, I like that. I'm going to do the very same down underneath the windowsill. I'm going to just start going darker. Let's say this starts around here, okay? Maybe up a bit. I'm going to start putting in some dark, deep colours. Black and burnt umber, let's say. And I'm going to start darkening this area as well. Because in the photograph it really just looks very dark, doesn't it? It's just a very dark area down here. So we don't have to be too particular with all of this. Just think in your mind, it's a dark colour, so just make a dark colour. Whatever dark colour you like, just as long as it's dark, put a dark colour in there and we'll go from there, then we'll see what happens. Alright, nice dark colour. We'll just soften it out slightly. And there we are. So it's coming together now. It's starting to, you can kind of get a sense of feeling in the painting, can't you? It's this atmosphere we're going after, that deep kind of dull, gloomy, you know, atmosphere. But then the warmth of the fire is really going to liven the painting up. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber and magenta. I'm just going to kind of suggest a couple of odd shapes here and there with that colour. Let's just say there's things around the place. That's what we'll say. Look, there's bits and pieces around the place, on top of the fireplace. Look, there could be a little bit of a jar. It could be anything. All right. It's just, I'm focusing on just making a suggestion of it. That's all. I don't want to, you know, tell you exactly what it is, but you can look and you'll know that there's something there. There's something. You see the way these shadows are kind of catching, they're kind of coming out into the brightness. That's what I'm after. So it's just telling you, yes, there is something there. We don't know what it is, it's just ornaments. Let's just call it ornaments. Now, already you can see the side of the window starting to form. That's what I was after. I want to catch that kind of darkness, but I'm not putting in solid lines. They're just very soft brushstrokes, okay? So you can begin to see the shape of the window coming out, can't you? You see what I mean? And that little air of kind of mystery is there as well. Now with the same brush, I'm going to take some phthalo blue and some white. And on these ornaments here, look, just going to give a little sense that there's something there. Little highlights. That's what I'm going to say. There could be something with a curve in there. I mean, we don't know what exactly it is. So let's create a little bit of mystery around the whole thing. Okay, just, you see, just little lights, just to catch your eye. Now I also want to put some blue with white along here. Leave that flick down. Flick it away. I'll do the same just up here. I'm then going to take some magenta with white. The reason I say magenta now with white is I can see a hint of pink on the brown timber frame, okay? It's a kind of a pinky shade. So a little bit of magenta, a bit of white, like so. And I'm using a very dry brush now with all of this, okay? It's really, really dry. And then maybe a hint of Sienna. And that will just give us that brown frame back again. Already that's looking, I would say, quite nice. Now I'm going to start adding some darkness to the top of that window frame. Again, I was saying earlier, I really want to kind of capture a feeling with this, and I want to go into plenty of detail. You know, I don't want to leave out lots and lots of detail. I want to make this really nice. I want to make a nice painting out of this. So I'm going to just take my time. At each section, I just want to take my time, and we'll do it nice. We make a nice little painting out of this. Let's go to the other side. Let's take a bit of, I'm going to try cadmium red. Let's just have a bit of fun. I'm going to try some cadmium red with a little Sienna. And I'm going to come over here. Maybe add a hint of light to that window frame. We could even take a hint of Naples yellow and pop some Naples yellow from the bottom up. Again, creating a little bit of light. And there's one other little thing I see in this. Now, we could even call this part 1 if finished if you want. I don't mind. If you want to do lots of small little tutorials, we can, by all means. It's up to yourself. Let's get some Naples yellow and a bit of white. And I'm just going to add some of that to the side. Flick it up and leave it go. That's all. Put it up and leave it go. Then the bottom piece down here. You can see it's very bright, isn't it? You have a lot of light, kind of a light blue going on down here. A bit more white than that, I think. Let's go along the top of the window here. Like that. Then we'll take a bit more white, and we have a dark piece under here, and then it gets, you see that kind of a white, it's like a bit of cloth or something on the windowsill. I like that kind of feeling, so let's just take a little bit of white and just kind of swirl a little bit of white through to create the impression that it's like a bit of cloth or something. Okay, I think we have that effect. And there's a small bit of dark just under this. Where the window frame turns down. Now, there you go. Already, we have created quite a nice little scene. I think I'll just put in the window frames here in between the glasses. And that could be already part 1 finished. I don't want to go too far and put in too much. So I think I'll just take my time with this tutorial now. It's the end of the year. I want to take my time with this. Give you a nice tutorial. So I'm going to put first some black. It's a very dark colour. Okay, bit of brown, bit of blue, bit of black. Just get some dark lines first. Down here. And my hands are quite shaky, along with many other of your hands as well. You know, as time goes on, our hands get shaky, don't they? That's just life. And it's probably a good thing for painting. Because I think if your line is not perfect, it gives you a more natural looking painting. Okay, we have the centerpiece in. Now we have 3. So let's go right in the middle first. And we'll split those in the middle then. And another one here. Now there's a little bit of curve coming off each one. I'm guessing that's just the snow on the outside of the glass, okay? There we are. Now I'm quite happy with that so far. I'm very happy just to leave that and say it's finished. But let's just put a final few details here and there. So we have, let's put a couple of dark lines here and there just to finish it off. Just to add, I won't say detail, but lastly, let's put in the ornaments on that windowsill. You can see we have like a bowl or something or other. So let's just pop something in. Let's just go like this, look. So that could be a little bowl or something. And we could have another little jug or something next to it there. Let's come off to the other side. There could be a little cup or something on this side. And a little bit of black and blue just for underneath those, create a little bit of a shadow. Finally, I'll go to my pointy brush and I'm going to just add a kind of a handle or something onto this. Okay, like so. And lastly, a few highlights. I'm just going to take some blue and some white for some highlights. And we'll make these nice and bright, okay? Just a couple of little dabs of colour here and there. Just a few dots, you know, we don't have to go crazy with this. Just a couple of highlights. And my friends, I would say we could actually just leave it as it is. We don't have to. Let's put a bit of snow outside the window there, look. And we could just leave it at that. So what do you think? Should we call this part 1 finished? You know, should we not go too far with this? I think this looks okay. Put a bit of Naples yellow on here. And we'll call this part 1 finished. So in fairness now, we have a lot done, don't we, so far? I mean, we have the whole centre of this painting done. Let's just take a bit of black and go across under here with a bit of black and soften that down. And even add a bit of purple to this. Watch what happens when I add a bit of purple to this black, okay? A little bit of magenta, a little bit of blue. Let's do that again. And we'll take a tiny bit of white into this as well. Watch how this just brightens the entire shadow and it brings it all to life. You see how that just... Now, I don't know if you saw that, but I can see it here. That little kind of a pinky purple, it just kind of, it does something to the black. It just kind of gives it a punch, you know. You should definitely try this. That's better now, look. You see how that just, it does something. It brings it to life. So, I'm going to call this part 1 finished. I hope you've enjoyed watching. This is coming on very nice. Even from your angle there, you can see the window and all that. It's like looking out, it's looking into the view. And the little hint of Sienna, it really kind of warms it all up, doesn't it? So I'll call this part 1 finished. I'll be back very, very shortly with part 2. I must just charge my cameras. I have 2 cameras today. I'm doing 2 different takes today. Let me know what you think. I'm going to charge my batteries up, tidy up here, change my tissue, and we'll go back to part 2 and we'll continue on. Maybe we'll do some cushions and the chair and that kind of thing. And we'll take our time with it. Alright, I'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching.